Is it truth? Is it the fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Absolutely. And what I love about service is that each time we do it, it reminds us that we are a part of something bigger than ourselves. It is our meaning, our motivation, and satisfaction. And speaking of satisfaction, I am very satisfied to be your club president, Aaron Jacobs, and I welcome you to our program today. Our program will be an outstanding one, but first we will enjoy the opening song by past district governor, by past president Glenn Miller, followed by the invocation. That's my prediction, Glenn. Followed by the invocation by past district governor Dick Brown and visitor introductions by Fran Pogue. Bonus today, you may have noticed there's something going on here in the front. We welcome students from the York Academy Regional Charter School who are going to film us as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. These students will then edit the video and send it to ABC 27 News. So look for it to air in the future during the ABC 27 noon newscast when the station features groups throughout Central PA reciting the pledge. So look sharp. These York Academy students are about to make us famous. Past President Glenn.
Thank you, President Aaron. Thanks for the promotion. Rotarians, please join me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. I'd like to suggest a moment of silence as we each think about what is happening around the world, particularly in the Middle East. Thank you. From the Old Testament, they will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up nation, sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. And from the New Testament, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. As Rotarians, stepped in all the great religions of the world, may we always embrace reconciliation and peace. Help us to take seriously your call to live in harmony with one another, especially when we are tempted to fight fire with fire. Thank you for providing nourishing food to sustain us, to our Rotary guests to be peacemakers in fulfillment times, in turbulent times. Amen.
I am pleased to have the honor of introducing our guests for today's meeting. When I call your names, please stand and remain standing, that's the hard part, until President Aaron has welcomed you. Ryan Strickler, guest of President-elect Courtney Piccolo. Christy Fasano, guest of President-elect Courtney Piccolo. Michael Lowe from the Academy has 3 guests who Aaron already explained. Allison Lander, Grace Roman, Alana Knoll. Sue Weinstein, guest of Elliot Weinstein. Kai Bastari, Youth Exchange. Tim Steele, guest of Andy Harold. Karen Mitchell, guest of past President Josh George. And Clay Shaw, guest of past President George. Tatiana Abreu, guest of Brian Grimm.
Thank you, Fran. Friends, it's a pleasure to have you as our guest today. I mentioned earlier that being a part of Rotary means being a part of something bigger than each of us could do on our own. And I promise you that you will enjoy the lunch, the program, and our members today. But being our guest today might be you taking your first step of being part of something bigger. And that means joining our Rotary Club. I'm just saying. Rotarians, please help me welcome our guests. Let's do some announcements, and we've got quite a lot of announcements to go through. Tomorrow, Youth Exchange will meet at 12 o'clock via Zoom. The Communications Committee meets on October 24th at 3:30 at the Fairway Table at Regents Glen. The IDEA and Youth Development Committees have partnered to support the 3 Kings Day event, and they're collecting new toys and monetary donations at our weekly club meetings from now through November 1st. If you look at your table, I believe you'll see a flyer for that. We'd really like you to support this idea to help the community at large while we have 2 committees working together. So please take the time to make those donations between now and November 1st. Speaking of looking ahead, next week, we have a really good weekly program that's going to feature a panel of candidates who are running for York County Commissioner. Moderated by Rotarian Heather Warner, past President Mike Summers asked the club members submit their questions for the candidates to Mike Summers in advance, so much that he would like them today because Mike will not be here and we need to get those together. So please take the time to meet Mike's deadline of submitting your questions so we have a great program. Speaking of deadlines, our tech assistant, Lindsay, has a relationship deadline as she has gotten engaged to her fiance, Eric. Lindsay, would you please stand so we can congratulate you? I hope you have it in your budget to invite all 300 Rotarians to the wedding. Congratulations, Lindsay. This Sunday, October 22nd, the Pappas House will be celebrating an open house of its facility at 66 Big Mount Road in Thomasville. You may remember they gave us a presentation to our club about 2 years ago, and the Pappas House Board President, Jody Keller, is extending the open house invitation to Rotarians. Please see Jody or Gina Spangler for more details about this event this weekend. Now, I don't know if you believe in coincidences, but the Pappas House open house also happens to fall on World Polio Day. If there's a deeper meaning, it escapes me, but this Sunday, October 22nd, is indeed World Polio Day, and Rotary has been working to eradicate polio for more than 35 years. And Lindsay, we think we have a brief video to watch.
There's nearly 678,290,000 kids under 5 around the world. But what's so important about being 5? Well, children who live to age 5 are twice as likely to reach adulthood. That's why vaccines matter so much. For 40 years, Rotary and partners have delivered vaccines globally. Like here and even here in your neighborhood and around the world, Rotary is ensuring children grow up safe from preventable diseases.
Thank you, Lindsay. So I've been asked to share some statistics about the results that Rotary International has achieved to end world polio. So since 1979, Rotary has reduced polio cases by 99.9%. That is amazing when you think of an epidemic that has blighted humankind for so long. And Rotary members worldwide, including those in this room today, have contributed more than $2.1 billion in countless volunteer hours to protect nearly 3 billion children in 122 countries from this paralyzing disease. If you do the math, we're so efficient that we accomplish this at less than $1 per child. That's amazing. If all eradication efforts stop today, within 10 years, they would predict polio could paralyze as many as 200,000 children each year. So we have to stay the course. And so in the spirit of continuing to fight to eradicate polio, I'd like to invite past President Al Sykes to the podium to talk about the upcoming event we have for World Polio. Past President Al.
Very hard to try to be funny after that other video. So I'm usually not successful, so I won't try. This is Procrastinator's Day. Okay, the ride is Sunday. And if you haven't registered yet, there's still time to do that. But what if it's Sunday morning and you still haven't registered because you procrastinate? It's okay. Like, that's okay. Just come down at 2 o'clock to Lafayette Plaza with a bicycle. You'll have to provide your own, and you can ride anyway. And if you bring $50 with you, you get one of these swell, handsome t-shirts and free wine, free beer, free setups. So come down on Sunday at 2 o'clock at Lafayette Plaza. Help us raise funds for the fight against polio and enjoy a bike ride. Thank you.
Al, I can't tell you how happy it is to hear you finally come to the podium and admit that you find it hard to be funny. Take your time. Take your time. I'd like to now invite past president. Yes, you did. Speaking of past presidents, Josh George, would you please bring our new members to the podium?
Thank you, President Aaron, and good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Oh, you're down there.
Down there.
Come on.
Excited.
What do you do with these new members? They're so excited to get here. They want to come right. Okay, Aaron or Ryan, come on up and introduce everybody. Before I introduce our new members, I would like to just give a quick shout out to my mom and stepdad, Clay Shaw and Karen Mitchell, who are here joining us today. They've been friends with Greg Baum for many, many years. And so I invited them to Rotary today. So Mom, Clay, thanks for joining us. It's great to have you here. All right, on with business. I would like to introduce you to 3 new members of our Rotary Club, and we will go ladies first, which is in the middle today. This is Sandy Chilton. Sandy went to Mardella High School, which is on the eastern shore of Maryland, and she went on to earn her Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from Salisbury University. She continued her education at the University of Baltimore and is now the executive director of the Typical Life Corporation here in York. Her community service includes serving as a board member for the Chesapeake Figure Skating Club, a volunteer for the Girl Scouts of America, and a volunteer for Voices of the U.S. Some of her hobbies include repurposing furniture, exploring new places, and doing crossword puzzles. She is married to Greg. They have one child, Alex, who is 21, and she is proposed by past President Jackie Summers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sandy Chilton. Next, we have Joe Silo. Joe, you want to give a quick wave? Joe went to St. Andrew High School in Detroit and went on to Michigan State University, where he earned his bachelor's in advertising. Joe is the Director of Development for Servants. His volunteer work includes serving on the Logos Works Committee at Logos Academy, volunteering for Habitat for Humanity, and his hobbies include running, gardening, and time with family. Now, running, Joe, since you're new, if you don't know Greg Baum, meet Joe, get together, buy some shoes. Greg knows everything about shoes. You're good to go. Joe is married to Amy. They have 3 kids, Hillary, Hannah, and Megan. And Joe is proposed for membership by Larry Richardson. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Silo. And last but not least, today we have Ryan Heyman, who was very bold when he got up here. So not shy. Welcome to our Rotary Club. You have a good opportunity to be up here in President Aaron's role at some point. If you really like to be up here at the podium, give it 5 or 10 years and this is your spot. Okay. Ryan went to York Suburban High School and went on to the Pennsylvania School of Technology, earning a degree in business and the arts. He is the owner of Heyman Studio. Perhaps you've heard of it. And his community service includes serving as the board vice president for Leadership York. He is a board member for the American Marketing Association of Central PA. He serves on the Expo Committee for the Manufacturers Association, and he's a past board member at the Appel Center. His hobbies include playing golf, going to concerts, and watching the Liverpool Football Club on TV, also known as soccer. He is married to Lauren. They have 2 kids, Sadie, who is 8, Owen, who is 6, and he is proposed by Lee Ann Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Heyman.
Thank you. I've often believed that an effective message is one that is both compelling and endures repetition. So allow me to repeat myself to our newest members. First of all, congratulations on being a member, but you are now a part of something bigger than yourself. And we hope that being a member gives you meaning, motivation, and satisfaction. I can tell you that we are quite happy to have you. And to our current members, I say, please do everything possible to go out of your way to make our newest members feel welcome. And we'll start this process with a nice applause. Ryan does not want to leave this podium. I'm sure it's not the first time in your industry you've heard take a picture to last longer. Thanks for being a good sport. I told you we're fun. At least I thought to myself. Anyway, I'd like to now invite Rotarian John Eister to the podium to introduce our program. John.
Good afternoon. A boat, a new car, and a new beach house. What I would have if Greg Baum never came to town. So I want to say, I want to welcome Clay. I'm sure he's been a great customer of Greg's over the year. If you don't know, I believe I'm right that Clay has run a marathon in every continent and I believe every state, correct? Twice. Josh, get at it, man, get at it. So this was supposed to be done by Sean Keeney. So in only Sean's way, he invites the speaker and then says, hey, I won't be there. So I'm gonna do it justice if I can. So this is what Sean would want to say about Greg. So I met Greg almost 20 years ago through my now wife, Laura, who was one of Greg's longtime employees. She's also a runner, as many of you know. When I met her, I relayed how I hated running. And she told me that I should go to Flying Feet and get properly fitted, that the sneakers I was wearing weren't right for my feet. I did, and what a difference it made. Since then, I bought every pair of sneakers from Flying Feet and gotten to see Greg's generosity in the community with customers and a willingness to go out of his way to help anyone who needed it. The running and local sports community owe a great deal to Greg and his generosity. Chances are you've taken your family to Flying Feet, and I would ask now, if you've ever bought anything at Flying Feet, please stand up. I'd say that's an impact, folks. So thank you. And when you buy from Greg, the beauty is your money stays local. We all know where it is. So Sean says, while my sneakers have been great, I still hate running, but appreciate knowing that I'm supporting a local business. Without further ado, please welcome Greg Baum.
Boy, the pressure is on. I want to thank Sean and the Rotary Club for inviting me to speak here today, especially since I know so many of you. When I was first invited, I declined the opportunity. It's not that I don't want to talk about this sort of thing, but I didn't really think I had anything that was that exciting to say to you guys. But I enjoy telling the story, and so I'm here to tell it. It's a story I'm proud of, the beginnings and the growth of Flying Feet sports shoes. It's a story I'm proud of, even if I really just kind of stumbled into the whole thing. So here I am to tell you about it and to expose my flaws and my failures in the process. I decided sometime in my early teens that I wanted to pursue a career as a school teacher, and I wanted to be a coach. I knew I wanted to be a coach. Now, this was after I decided that I wasn't going to make it to the majors. So after my mother and dad, teachers and coaches were probably my biggest influencers in my life and my career. So it was really a fulfillment of that goal when I graduated from college in 1971 and was hired as a math teacher at York County School of Technology. Back then it wasn't called that, but that's what they call it today. And better yet, I was offered the position of head cross-country coach for a program that was really in its infancy. They had never won a meet. I had one returning member from the year before. His claim to fame was he finished last at the county meet. So at the age of 21, I had really grabbed that golden ring that I had reached for. Coaching those boys was the most fulfilling thing I ever did in my life. Very few of them had any sports experience of any sort. And it was rare that I ever got an experienced runner. But we persevered, and after a few years, few winless seasons, we became respectable as a team and respected by the competition. My guys ran in whatever they had, and I saw some of the worst shoes that you can imagine. A lot of those kids didn't have much of anything, let alone shoes, good shoes to run in. But the school offered to buy some shoes. I knew we needed to do better than that. And the school offered to buy some shoes. So I approached the owner of a local sporting goods store, and that was where all the schools bought their equipment. And I explained that I wanted to order New Balance running shoes for the upcoming fall season. Now, some of you will know that Runner's World magazine used to rate the shoes. And in that particular year, Runner's World magazine had rated 3 of the top 5 shoes to be New Balance shoes. I wanted a pair of New Balance shoes for the kids on my team. I told him the purchase order won't get to you until August because that's the way it's done. But I need the shoes in August. So I'm telling you now what I need so you can be proactive and order them, and I can have them when I need them. And the kids need the shoes at the start of the season, not halfway through it. Well, to my dismay, he said to me, I never heard of New Balance, and I'm not interested. Well, I wasn't going to give up on that. So there were no other local suppliers right at that time that were supplying New Balance. And I called New Balance and I proclaimed that I was going to open a store in York. And I had a fictitious name, and it was Flying Feet Sports Shoes. And the Flying Feet just came to me as I wanted to denote movement, speed, and when you run, you're flying, your feet are flying. So that was the name I came up with. And I told them, I want to carry your line. Obviously, they were eager to sell their shoes because the sales rep sat in my living room in 1975 and opened an account with me. He didn't do much checking. I had no location. I had no business plan. I only had one thing in mind. I wanted shoes for my team. So I went to the bank in advance, and I had a good relationship with the local bank. And they told me there's no money to be made in selling athletic shoes. So I couldn't get a business loan, but I could get a personal note. And I got a personal note and had to buy 100 pair of shoes. That was the minimum opening order. So I bought 100 pair of shoes in my living room and wrote the check. I had to pay in advance because I had no credit history. I accomplished what I set out to do. I got shoes for my team. But I thought, what the heck am I going to do with the rest of these shoes? Fortunately, my fellow cross-country coaches in the county were eager to have me fit their kids up with shoes too. And so I would sometimes go to practices and take shoes and fit the kids up. I also had no qualms about putting shoes in the back of my Subaru station wagon. And when we went to races, or I was still running myself in races then, go to races when you're standing around afterwards. If anybody needs a pair of shoes, I have some shoes in the back here. I got some New Balance. And we could make a deal, or you could come over to my house when I'm home. Just call if I'm home. You can come over and sit in my. Initially, it was in my living room, but my wife made some changes in that, and we went to the rec room. And I'd fit you up, and we'll talk about the race last weekend and what's coming up and so forth. And it was all good, but it was more of a hobby than anything else. But I was able to move the shoes, but runners are fickle people. They like the New Balance, but can't you get Brooks? How about Saucony? Can you get them? So I made some calls, and Brooks was out of Hanover at the time, and Saucony was made over in Shillington. I called Saucony and I said, my name's Greg. I'm from Flying Feet Sports Shoes. I want to open up an account, but would you repeat your name again? Because I didn't even know how to pronounce it. Saucony, whatever it was. It was Saucony from the Saucon Wali of Kutztown is where they were from. I had Reebok when they were still made in England. I had Tiger, which became Asics. And that was the company that Nike first started with. They were importing Tiger shoes and putting the swoosh on it. And that was where they got started. And we dabbled in a bunch of fringe brands that came and went. Some of them were very interesting, but they didn't stay on the market long, or they were gobbled up by the big boys. So I had quite a collection of shoes in my rec room, 2 55-gallon aquariums. You could sit there and try on shoes. I can tell you about the fish and that sort of thing. Now, I was teaching school and coaching. The position of athletic director opened up at Tech, and I decided to apply for the job. Taking that position required that I give up my coaching position. And that's a decision I still regret. But there were things in our athletic program that I thought I could fix, that I could make better. I soon learned that I really didn't have any authority to do that. I was more the whipping boy. When things went wrong, even though I knew why they went wrong, I couldn't change them. So after a short period of time, I guess about 2 years, I did it. And I was teaching 6 periods of math out of an 8-period schedule, and then had 2 periods of athletic duty time and had to attend every athletic event. For too much time and too little remuneration, and there was no way for my family to benefit from it. I decided to give it up. And I continued to teach, but I decided to give it a try with the shoe business. I had an inventory. It was easy to get started. So in June of 1982, we became legitimately Flying Feet sports shoes on Mount Rose Avenue. I sought out my first vendor for the new store, a small company that made custom shoes, and they did some orthopedic work on the shoes, and they would make colors. If you wanted your shoe to be purple and green, they would make it that way. The company was Vans. Now, a lot of you probably know what Vans are, those checkerboard canvas shoes. Well, I didn't really know what they were, but I knew about their small athletic line. So the sales rep came to show me the line, and he had about 5 or 6 Foot Lockers that he opened up. And here are these god-awful looking canvas shoes, slip-ons, ties, checks, stripes, polka dots, flowers. I said, get them out of here. That's not what I'm carrying. I'm going to sell performance shoes. My kid brother was there. He pulled me aside. He said, Greg, those will sell. Bring them in. I reluctantly did, and it was good that I listened to him. So there was my first great genius move. I didn't want to bring them in. He told me to. I brought them in, and they kept us alive. While we were still trying to sell enough running shoes to pay the rent, the skateboarders and the BMX cyclists kept us in business. We sponsored a young group of boys who performed stunts in the parking lot on their BMX bicycles. They'd come out on a Saturday and pop wheelies and that sort of thing. Good bunch of kids. We became the place for skateboarders and BMXers because we became known as the place for vans. They kept us alive until our athletic customers took over. Now, my wife and I did everything in those days. The business grew and we expanded our offerings. I was able to hire a couple of good employees to share the workload. And they all brought their own skills and areas of expertise that were essential to our success. We all believed in smothering the customers with good service, knowing the products that we were selling thoroughly, and to teaching the customers about them. Our goal has always been to properly fit the customer with the correct shoes at a fair price. We're particularly concerned with helping our high school and college athletes to reach their highest levels of success. We gain great satisfaction from feeling like in some small way, we are a part of that success. We'll even tell you that we were part of Olympic marathoner Steve Spence's success, because we got him through the trials because he bought his water bottles from us. As relationships with coaches and athletic directors evolved, so did our product offerings, and we added, at their request, other sports to our offerings and serviced many of the high school teams in sports other than cross country and track. Soon we were outfitting basketball, football, soccer teams as well. Although we were successful, in hindsight, we took ourselves out of our comfort zone. We couldn't be all-knowing to every sport, nor could we develop individual relationships with those folks like we did with the running community. So when Nike and Adidas started purging small accounts and squeezing us, maybe they did us a favor. Although I didn't think so at the time, and I still resent it, but it's part of being small. Our marketing plan has always revolved around the high school sports seasons, as well as local sporting events. Over the years, I personally directed many of the road races in the area till Clay took most of them over. And Clay started directing, but I ran the timing system for the York Roadrunners Club for many years, timed most of the races in the area. These are all in the past tense. And we still store and maintain the equipment for the York Roadrunners Club. We sponsored most of the running events in the county in some way: volleyball tournaments, swim festivals, field hockey tournaments. My philosophy has always been to give the customer a venue to use the equipment that we sell. I mean, where are they going to use their shoes if there's no events to participate in? So we want to make those events happen, and we've always tried to help that. So what about the school teacher? I continued my teaching career until 2004. So that was a total of 33 years in the classroom. I believe I was a good teacher most of my career. I could have been better. I never realized the effect a teacher has on the student until it was too late, till I retired. Excuse me. There are kids I could have helped more, but I failed to recognize it at that time. But I do want it to be known that the business never, ever was at the sake of my classroom performance. For the 19 years that I essentially worked 2 full-time jobs, I used every waking hour of the day. After teaching a full day, I went to the store and I worked until closing. I closed the store, and most nights I went back to school and then worked on lessons, worked on assignments, corrected papers. Because I had coached and been athletic director, the nighttime custodians, they all knew me well. So I was able to get into the building. They left me in the building. And many nights they would come to my room and say, be sure you pull the door shut when you leave. We're going home. I didn't sleep more than about 6 hours a night for those years. I burned a lot of midnight oil. So you're thinking, well, now you're getting a chance to catch up. I can't sleep now. I guess I got into the habit. The store outgrew the confines of our original setting right out on Mount Rose Avenue, and we eventually moved to a neighboring building and expanded both our storage and our showroom to what we are today. Product categories have changed with times, but we still consider ourselves to be a running specialty store. That is our specialty category. But we strongly support cheerleading and swimming and wrestling and field hockey and pickleball and tennis. And we've had people over the years, employees over the years, who have been connected to those sports. And that's one of the reasons why we got into some of them. But that also gave us the expertise in those categories. We've also added employees over the years. We couldn't operate on 2 or 3 employees anymore. And I've been very fortunate to employ and enjoy friendships with many good people. All of them added their area of expertise to our customer service. Most of them had a passion for some aspect of the business. The best of them assumed ownership of the store. They realized that their reputation and the store's reputation would become one and the same. And they're the best employees because they want to be known for doing a good job. And so do we. In addition to myself, we presently have about 6 full-time employees and 9 part-time employees. My wife does the paperwork from home. Finding good employees has been one of the challenges in recent years, and any of you that are in business know that well. Our continued success requires that we continue to offer the best customer service and knowledgeable advice possible. That requires good employees. But the greatest challenge today is being a small, independently owned business in a big business world. Thanks to the internet and spurred by the COVID pandemic, which pushed people to the internet, and fueled by the need for companies to satisfy the bottom line on somebody's spreadsheet, our vendors have become our biggest competitors. We are no longer the business partners with our suppliers that we used to be. It's not a level playing field anymore for any small business. My fear is that small businesses, particularly locally owned small businesses, are headed for extinction. I certainly hope that is wrong, but let's just look around the York area and ask ourselves, how many businesses are continue to be owned by Yorkers, run by Yorkers, big business and small alike? I hope I'm wrong about that prediction. Now, if I was supposed to offer you some profound business secrets today, you invited the wrong person. I'm not a businessman. I'll be the first to tell you that. I'm a teacher. I'm a coach. I did everything wrong as per the business gurus. I've had kids, over the years, I've had quite a few kids from the business department at York College who come in and work for me as an intern or just because they want a part-time job or whatever. And they always tell me, well, that's not what they said in class, but that won't work. And I haven't ever done things like I was supposed to. I never had a formal written business plan, though I always had a direction. I knew where I was headed. I never had proper financial backing, and I never depended on a bank line of credit for survival. It was several years before I took any remuneration from the store's finances. But I was careful not to overextend. I also knew that I could fail and fail badly, but I never expected to. I knew that I would make mistakes, but I was confident that I had enough work ethic that I could outwork my mistakes. And most of the time I did. Although I worked to be successful and to provide for my family, it was never about the money, and still isn't. That's the story as I perceive it. Treat your customers as you would want to be treated. Bend over backwards to be fair and honest with them. Be sympathetic and compassionate when they bare their souls to you. Give as much as you can. Work hard. There's nothing magical or scientific about it. It's been a good 48 years. I'm proud to have been a part of it. Many people have helped me along the way, and I've made a lot of friends. I thank everyone who participated with me for making it all possible. And as I look around the room, I may not know your name, but I know your shoe. And I thank you for that. I'm told I'm supposed to open the floor to questions.
That's right. And the first question is, if you want to ask him a question, got to speak in the microphone. I saw one over there early on. So you first. Good job, by the way.
Thank you.
By the way, do I get a discount when I come for my next pair?
Well, you have a lot of fans in this room, and I think most of us who shop there can say we absolutely love the experience. And what I think is so remarkable is how everybody who works for you really believes in what they're selling and what they're wearing. And that's pretty cool to experience. So my question is, when you first started, I think you sold about 100 pair of shoes, I'm thinking around there. How many shoes did you sell last year? How many pairs did you sell last year?
I honestly don't know.
Ballpark,
If I
ballpark.
thought about that, I'd probably have to go take a nap. The question is usually, how many shoes have I laced in my lifetime, or have I tied in my lifetime? I wouldn't even want to think about it. I don't really know.
I'm curious about the future of Fine Feet. given the challenges. I've been in the store and you told me actually about how hard it is to get product from Adidas and Nike now because they really want to go direct to the customer. So what does the future look like?
Okay, well, Nike was a company that came up with the idea quite a number of years ago. And then whatever Nike does, everybody in the industry follows. Their goal is to sell direct to the consumer with nobody in between. Right now, Dick's and some of the major vendors are there in between, but they'd like to get them out of there too. It will work for some companies, it won't work for others. The future of any store like mine in the running industry or the athletic shoe industry is they're going to have to stay with brands that will sell to them. And I think there's still a future. It's just going to be different. Now, the future for Flying Feet, I'm old. I have trouble hearing. My wife has trouble with the fact that the business owns me. And I guess I can say this publicly. I have the business up for sale right now. I intend to stay on for a while with it, but I'd like the business to continue as we've done it. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but we'll see.
Anybody want to buy the business? I never did auctions before, but I might try.
I'm one of your newer customers that I'm a longtime Nike and things were not working. I kept tearing through them on the backside. So getting to your store changed my shoe life experience. So thank you. I'm now Saucony and I have Brooks. My question though, when you started 100 shoes, how much did that cost? What was your investment then?
Oh, back then, it was probably around $500. Yeah. No. I'm wrong. No, it's about $5,000. About $5,000. Yeah. Not 500, $5 a pair. I never saw $5 a pair. Yeah.
If you are, let me know because I'll come buy some more.
So as others have said, we've all experienced it in your store, the willingness of your salespeople and colleagues to work with us, and they all do kind of share your perspective on what it means to be a customer. What do you do to instill that with your team? How do you go about maintaining that culture? Because it is unique and it's not something you see in other retail facilities. So what's your secret there?
I don't really have a particular program or anything. First of all, you try to hire people that you like, good people that you think are going to be that way. And we talk about sell the right shoe. You're not on commission. Sell the right shoe or don't sell anything. They have to buy into it or they don't stay with us long. I don't really have a program as such, but they all know that that's what it's about and that's what's expected of them. So.
Greg, do you have a special, memorable, fun moment of interacting with one of your customers that became very, very special? You might need to think about that for a while, but.
Oh, I could have told you a lot of anecdotal stories about customers, There's one that sticks out in particular. I'm a vocalist, and I had a lady come in. Two elderly ladies came in one day on a Saturday, and she said she needed shoes, and I worked with her, and they were kind of fun, talk to them, and she had to order a pair of shoes because I believe she was a AA and I didn't have her size. I said, I can order a pair for you. So as they went to leave, she asked me how to get to Mount Rose Avenue. She's driving. So I was concerned for them, but the two of them went out to the car, and about 5 minutes later, a customer came in with a pocketbook, and he said to me, "This is sitting out in the parking lot." I looked at it. I knew who it was. I knew where it came from. So I had her phone number because that she ordered a pair of shoes. So I called, and somewhere in the conversation, I knew that they came up from the retirement village in Shrewsbury. So I waited. I gave her enough time to get home, and I called. And I said, I have a pocketbook in here that belongs to your friend. Oh, she said, she's looking for that and she needs it. We'll be right back in. I said, no. Don't come back in for it. I said, my family lives in Jacobus. I'll drive down and drop it off for you, which I did. So the shoes came in about a week later, and I called her and she said, I understand you're doing a solo on Sunday in church. And I said, how do you know that? Well, somebody told her. She said, will you bring the shoes to church? I'm going to come to hear you sing if you'll bring the shoes to church. And I said, I can do that. Okay, I can do that. Well, she didn't show up. So she called me and she said, I just don't know how I'm going to get in there for the shoes. And I'm thinking, I don't want you to drive in here. I said, I'll bring them down. Some Saturday or Sunday, I'll bring them down. After it closes at 5 o'clock on Saturday, I can bring them down. Well, I don't remember what, it was either Nebraska or Oklahoma. Penn State was playing a very big game that Saturday night. And she called me and said, could you bring the shoes down tonight? And I, no. But I did. I said, I'll bring them down. And when I got there, she lived in a little cottage and she was a retired music teacher. I could hear her playing the piano when I got there. I took the shoes to her door and she handed me a hymnal and said, will you sing? And she had a very nice voice and we did harmony for about a half an hour or 45 minutes. Whereupon she said, I have some vanilla ice cream and fresh peaches. I didn't see one down of that football game. You never get that service at Dick's.
Hello, Greg, thank you. Am I on? Okay. Thank you again. I have a comment, not necessarily a question. You've been my teacher for decades, and so you've answered all my questions. The comment is, thank you for what you've done. Clearly, you sell the best shoes in town, including these bad boys that Krebs just sold me an hour or two ago. I wore them to make you proud. I wore them to put Icer on notice that he's going to have his hands full with me at the Richmond Marathon in 3 weeks. But more than that, dude, you're a teacher. You bring connection in an era long bygone. We're buying from Amazon. We're walking into telephones, looking at our, into telephone poles, looking at our phones. My kids are marathon runners because of you. I'm a runner because of you. I've hung out with Icer for thousands of hours, and you've given us the inspiration. It's a pleasure to do business with you. It's a pleasure to keep it in York. And so for that, thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, I have to make a confession. We sold him those shoes with the promise he'd be able to beat John Ister.
Any other questions? My kids run marathons too. Their father never ran a lick of one. That doesn't make it bad. It just makes me old. Any other questions? Don't forget, I love carrying the mic. So.
No. People can't hear on Zoom.
Yeah, we gotta. Give me a job. You kidding?
Greg,
yes.
Tell us about the shoes you're wearing today. Sell us.
I'm wearing a pair of Brooks Ghost Max. It's a new shoe, just came out 1st of October. It's a neutral cushion shoe. It's a lower drop. It has a rocker bottom. It will work for most people with a neutral foot. It's deep enough to accept an orthotic, but I'm not convinced that it's a good shoe for orthotics at this point. I'm not sure about that yet. Very comfortable. And it's brand new. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow, Greg. So I'm gonna have to say this now for the 4th time today, that service means being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. And it gives us meaning, motivation, and service. And Greg, we saw this so true in your story today. You are clearly a community legend. And I'm a sucker for a good entrepreneurial story. And yours was a fun and fantastic one. But more importantly, you have touched so many lives and feet in your county that I can see why we would not be the same without you. Your passion to do what you have done inspires myself and everyone in this room to be the best that we can. And sir, you have served your community well, that your service was above self, and we thank you. In honor of Greg's program, we are donating the book, We Are Water Protectors by Carol Lindstrom. It will be donated to the Devers Elementary in City of York, along with a bookmark made by the students of Creative York. Interesting fun fact, this is also where Greg's wife taught once upon a time. It's a small world getting smaller. And boy, if you thought that's going to be a tough program to top, there's no doubt about it, but we're going to try next week. If you haven't heard me say it already, we have a featured panel discussion of York County candidates for county commissioner, including Scott Buford, Doug Hoke, Keenan Minefield, and Julie Wheeler, who are running for election on November 7th. It's coming up. So please remember to send your questions to past President Mike Summers so we can have a robust forum. Having said that, have an amazing Rotarian week. This meeting is adjourned.